everything is fucking figure outable. I may not have all the answers, but I'll figure it out. Boss bitch. Boss bitch. Welcome to Boss Bitch Radio. Today we are doing a solo episode, and I'm here to talk to you about the fear of failure. Reason being is because I have battled this personally myself for many, many years. And I'd like to think that I've overcome it 100%, but the real truth is that I have not. There are still certain areas of my life where I have an extreme fear of failure. I think it's natural for most of us. It becomes easier as I grow older, now being 45 years old by the time you guys listen to this, that I put myself out there and I'm totally okay with being vulnerable and not knowing everything when I do something, right? Like I don't have everything down 100%. I don't have everything figured out. A lot of times, you guys, I figure it out as I go, right? Like I have a general idea of what I want, a launch to look like, a project, something in my personal life that I might be wanting to take a risk on, whether it's financially or in a personal relationship. And it's scary as fuck. And I see fear of failure holding a lot of women back. So much that it's almost like a little festering disease. And it can grow into lots of resentments, stress, ruminating on how you wish your life could turn out. And I think if we can allow ourselves the grace and not knowing that you have to have everything figured out, you can conquer a lot of your fears and realize in retrospect that it's not that scary. Early in my entrepreneurial journey, probably, I would say maybe about 10 to 12 years ago when I really started getting into the business realm of entrepreneur life, I came across a well-known woman in the space, and her name is Marie Forleo. And I joined one of her virtual business academies. And it was a great process in getting me to think outside the box and smash these fears and really help me organize my mindset around success. And one thing that always stuck with me, and I think I utilize as a mantra more often than I realize, and maybe it just kind of lies in the background of my subconscious, is she would always say, everything is figure outable. And even like speaking those words into the microphone and hearing myself echo through the headphones, it gives me the chills a little bit because it's the truth. Every risk that I've taken, every competition that I have entered and prep that I've gone through, at the end of the day, I always knew when I laid my head down to sleep that everything is fucking figure outable. I may not have all the answers, but I'll figure it out. And I've led my life like that for the better part of my adulthood, is taking risks, looking fear in the face and saying, bring it on, bitch. Like, I'm going to figure this shit out. So some things that I wanted to discuss today were just talking about some of the root causes of the fear of failure. And I know it varies from person to person, but some things that I wanted to bring to the podcast today were things that I know that I have dealt with, and maybe you have too. And hopefully this episode helps you feel like you can do shit that's hard. And even though it's scary, you're going to act in spite of that fear, because at the end of the day, everything is figure outable. So the first thing, when you are battling this fear of failure, a lot of times it comes from past negative experiences, right? You've had previous failures, things have gone wrong, you get some negative feedback. And let's be real, that can leave a lasting impact. And it can definitely create a fear of repeating those same experiences. I know that time and time again, I have put myself through, contest preps, having coaches and things of that nature, and maybe missing the mark on certain milestones, which my coach has set for me in terms of like, we're this many weeks out, we should be here in terms of body fat and things like that. And a lot of times I just wanted to throw in the towel, right? I just was like, I can't, what can I do? I'm doing all that I can. I'm going to get on stage and look like a fool. I'm going to, I have these high expectations of myself and I'm not going to meet them, which actually bleeds into the next topic of the fear of failure, right? Is having these high expectations, having excessively high expectations for yourself. And that can create an intense pressure to succeed. It also leads to a fear of falling short, not meeting those expectations. And that could be crippling. I know, at least for myself, I knew my last show in particular, going into a pro show for the first time, right? It's a totally different beast. It is a totally different fucking beast than competing in the NPC as an amateur. And personally, I knew for myself, it took me 15 shows as an amateur, well, before I got my pro card, 14, to realize like you just have to do the damn thing and put yourself out there and allow yourself to fall and allow you to learn as you get back up and realize that the world didn't crumble around you. Everything still continued to move around you. And everyone else around you isn't as concerned with your perceived failures, your lack of achievements and things as you are. You spend the most time with yourself out of anyone in this world. And if you're not able to allow yourself to stretch outside of the confines of your own mental tapestry, of which you think is your possibilities, you're going to stay stagnant. And maybe you're happy with that. Great. But if you're not, and you're playing small, a lot of times it's because of the fear of failure. The other problem I see is perfectionism. Again, ties in very closely to high expectations. So striving for perfection, fearing any form of mistakes or shortcomings, that can all contribute to a huge fear of failure. I have a friend of mine, I haven't seen her for a while. She's a dear friend. She used to work for me. Brilliant woman, skilled beyond belief, such a gift to this world. The powers that she had in just relating to other humans and the skills that she had. But she was always stuck in this trap of, I just need to take one more course before I do the thing. And, I was friends with her for many, many years. And I would see her never feeling ready because she just needed to be a little more better. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not discouraging you from trying to absorb all the information you need if you're passionate about a certain skill, or you want to open a business in a certain realm, or you're a creative, or you have some hidden talent and you feel like you want to bring it to the world, but you're scared because it's not perfect. I saw this woman trap herself in continual course after course after course because she was constantly comparing herself to those in the same industry who had been doing this for years, right? Like they'd been doing it for years. They had the reps under their belt, but they too also started right where they were. They didn't have everything figured out. So I'm here to tell you that you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. Perfectionists often have an all or nothing mindset. And a lot of times they view failure as a personal reflection of their worth. And I'm here to tell you that those are not related. Failures are just ways that things didn't work. And if you can embody that mindset, you can take the learning lessons from those failures and course correct and keep going. Another fear of failure ties heavily to the fear of judgment and rejection. So, one thing I hear often is a worry about how others perceive and judge one's abilities and achievements. And that can lead to a fear of failure that, people are going to reject me, they're going to criticize me, they're going to be disappointed. And that can be a significant factor in holding people back, is the worry and the fear of judgment and rejection. Y'all, I just came out on my podcast about being non-monogamous and bisexual. And let me tell you, that feels like you're standing in front of the world abso-fucking-lutely naked. Okay? And I don't know about you, if you've ever had those dreams, where you're in the classroom giving a speech butt naked, and those are like the most terrifying dreams ever. Well, for me, sharing those things with all of you guys is much like standing in front of a classroom naked. And I anticipate judgment. I anticipate rejection. I'm sure I've lost listeners, but I've gained a whole hell of a lot of listeners. And for me, it doesn't feel right to not live in my integrity and be authentic. And that includes sharing a huge piece of my life that makes me who I am, which is the boss bitch, which I'm assuming if you are still listening at this point, you are a fan. And that's probably what you respect about me, is that I kind of just leave it all on the table. I'm pretty direct. I'm very transparent. I'm vulnerable. And I lead with that. I also wear my heart on my sleeve. So did I fear rejection? Did I fear judgment? Absolutely. I'm a human. I think that's a natural, instinctual feeling that comes up when you're going to do something that kind of goes against the grain of most of society. But I know that by sharing those things with some of you, even though it's something you may never be interested in or never partake in or have no desire whatsoever, if I can change your mind just a little bit in the realm of judgment around these things that make me who I am, then my job here is done, right? Like, you don't have to agree with me, but you can respect that I'm going to be honest and open and live in my integrity and not be ashamed of what makes me me. And I think if you can really own that, you've tapped into a deeper level of boss bitchery, and high fucking five. Another factor when it comes to the fear of failure is having a lack of self-confidence and a lack of self-esteem. And this is a challenging one, right? Like, how do you build confidence? How do you build self-esteem? Well, I know that when you are lacking those things, it can definitely undermine your belief in your abilities. It's going to enhance your feeling of fearing failure and doubting your potential for success, and just doubting the choices and the decisions that you make and the risks and the chances. Being a confident person and having high self-esteem allows you to recover very rapidly from things that end up not going your way, that fail, that don't work out. I can tell you time and time again, I have had lots of things not work out and not go my way, or things that are out of my control, right? Other people's decisions. But because I have a high level of self-confidence and self-esteem, it just rolls off my back like water off of a duck's back, or whatever that saying is, right? Like it just goes. Does it bother me? Sure, sometimes, depending on the context. If it's something to do with, a relationship, a friendship, something where there's another human involved that I care about, something that's affecting some human that I love, my business, my fans, my studio family. But the ability to shrug that off and keep moving forward is greater because of my confidence, because of my ability to just know that that's not something that's caused because of my lack of desire to really move forward with my goals. I'd like to think that my confidence has been built over the years by doing the shit that scares me and then keep doing the shit that scares me. Not settling for less in relationships, not placating to partners who want me to diminish my light or my sensuality or my sexuality, owning who I am, embracing my quirks and my uniqueness rather than trying to mold to what society thinks I should be as a woman or a business owner or a mom or a grandma. And I'm like, but I'm Diane and this is what I like. And maybe all other moms don't like that. And that's okay. They can like other things like book club and wine club, but I like sex parties. Okay. But that doesn't make me a bad mom. I'm a good mom. So I'm confident in that. So it doesn't concern me. I don't worry about the judgment of others because I know deep down that, my integrity and the person I am is solid. So when you know that, you can really own your decisions. And if you have failures along the way, they don't impact your self-confidence as they may from time to time, but not as impactful when you are owning who you are and you have self-confidence and high self-esteem. Another underlying factor that I see often is an overemphasis on external validation. So when you rely heavily on external validation, like you're seeking approval or validation from others, it can create a fear of failure because you're going to be worried about not meeting other people's expectations, or you're going to, or possibly receiving some sort of disapproval. So while I think it's important to have sound people that you can talk to and are, friends that are solid, mentors and things like that, you have to know who's on your side in terms of who's going to support you being you and your uniqueness. You want the people in your corner that are going to support you and lift you up rather than pull you down. And if you're overemphasizing the external validation by people that really aren't taking risks and chasing goals, trying to improve their life, not stuck in relationships that they keep complaining about that they hate and, don't want to get out of for the fear of whatever their own fears are. If you can surround yourself with people that are going to support your goals and your dreams, and you can bounce ideas off of them and have them help you mold into the confident person that is going to make decisions and know that you're going to live and everything is figure outable. You want to hang on to those people, and you want to put less emphasis on the people that are just pulling you down. And if you've listened to me babble for long enough, you know that those are the crabs. Those are the crabs in your life that one of my business coaches back in probably 2011, Bedros Koulian, you can look him up on the Instagram. He's got a gigantic following, amazing coach, does a lot of mindset stuff. And at one of our masterminds said, stop fucking hanging around with crabs. If you put crabs in a bucket, the crabs at the bottom of the bucket are trying to pull all the other crabs at the top so the bottom crabs can get to the top. You don't want to hang out with people that are pulling you down. Now, this isn't to say that you're not going to have friends or friendships that need support and they're going through things in life. That's absolutely normal. However, if you are finding that when you hang out with certain people in your tribe, maybe it's people you went to high school with, and these are just people that have always been your friends, but you hang out with them and you generally feel worse when you leave their presence every fucking time, that's a clue. That's a crab. Usually that's a crab. Sometimes, unfortunately, these crabs come by way of being partners. Those are going to be the most challenging, and those are going to test you beyond belief. So relying on external validation can be a trap. Keep that in mind. Another thing I see often, and I think this goes hand in hand with the quote, everything is figure-outable, is having a limited growth mindset. I have a very good friend in my life who runs a business and often calls upon me for business advice. This becomes increasingly frustrating when I share my experiences and things that have worked for me and help him think outside the box a little bit, put myself in his shoes. I really try to take, when I give somebody any kind of business or financial advice, I really try to look at all angles, right? Like if I was you, if I had your business, how would I do things differently? How would I look at things from a different lens? And maybe you can try some of these on and see if they work. And every time these conversations with this particular friend of mine end up in that would never work for me. That works for you, but that would never work for me. That's a limited growth mindset. That's shutting off the possibility without even trying it. People with a limited growth mindset could possibly perceive failure as a reflection of their inherent limitations. And so sometimes that will stop them dead in their tracks from even trying anything different. Because if they fail, they're going to see that as it meaning something about who they are as a person. When in fact, it's just, I tried this thing that just didn't work for my business. It means nothing about me or my abilities or my knowledge. There's so many possibilities as to why something can't work. Maybe the marketing wasn't right. Maybe the languaging wasn't right. There's so many things. So if you continue to limit your growth mindset and not allow yourself to try some different things on and be open to different ways of thinking, different ways of operating, you're going to constantly push any possibilities of growth because of your fear of failure. Lastly, and probably not lastly for this entire topic, but things that I thought about in creating this podcast was a lot of times we worry about cultural or family expectations. Sometimes the family pressure to achieve certain standards of success can really, really contribute to that fear of failure. I see this a lot with clients that worry that their parents aren't going to approve of them wanting to do something maybe in the fitness industry because everyone in the family is a doctor or a lawyer or, some other profession, and doing something off the beaten path that isn't in that realm of their family expectations can lead people to fear taking the plunge. What is my family going to think? What is this going to look like in my culture? Right? I know that when I went to get divorced, for example, right? I knew my parents want me to be happy, right? That's the ultimate goal. As a mom, that's what I want for my kids. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to be in a miserable relationship. I don't want you to be in a miserable, job, whatever. I want you to be happy. If that means you are no longer married, because that is not making you happy. This is an unhappy situation for both parties. I don't want you to be in that relationship. Bless my grandmother's heart, and I love her dearly, but she about had a nervous breakdown anytime in our family somebody was getting divorced. Okay. And let's just say it's almost everybody in our family has been divorced at some point, with the exception of, I think, one uncle of mine. Poor woman stressed herself out to no end because she had this expectation that everyone was going to stay married forever and was going to be happy, white picket fence. And this was how she was raised. She's 93, right? She was married to the same man until he passed away. And then she stayed single forever until she met a wonderful older gentleman in her 80s. Okay. Mind you, her husband died when she was 40. So my grandmother stayed single for like 40 years. And I giggle because she always said, like, there's no man good enough to bring around my kids, right? And that was just her thing, very old school. But her expectation was that everyone was also going to follow suit with that. And it wasn't realistic. So it can be a lot of pressure to have family expectations and things. I just know for myself personally, and I had this conversation with a friend earlier, is that no one is going to live your life but you. You have to wake up every day. You have to look at yourself in the mirror. You have to be with your thoughts. You have to be with all of the decisions that you make in your life every single day. And my hope is that every single one of you listening wakes up happy to be who you are, doing what you're doing, and living the life that you want to live. And a lot of times that's going to require you to look fear in the face and say, I see you. You used to scare me, but I'm going to do the scary shit anyways because everything is figure outable. So hopefully this podcast pushed a button or two and was motivating to you. I just know that I have a big vision for this podcast in growing it to be more than just health and fitness, definitely mindset, and empowering women, empowering humans to live their best life, fuck fear, and do the damn thing anyways. I'll talk to you soon. Boss bitch. Wait. Before you go, boss bitches, real quick. I know we've just reached the end of another awesome episode of Boss Bitch Radio, and I'm hoping that you're having a blast listening to us and learning with us. But guess what? The fun does not have to stop there. If you are hungry for more things boss bitchery, fitness goodness, all the mindset stuff, all of the things that keep you motivated, you need to sign up for my newsletter. I know, I can't believe we've gone over 150 episodes and I have not mentioned once for y'all to be signing up for my newsletter because I've had a newsletter for 16 years. Every week I send out some content. Usually it's a wrap up of some of the podcast episodes with some snippets in there that's bite sized that you can carry with you in your little pocket. But you wouldn't know unless you joined. All the cool bitches be on my newsletter list, and then you can just reply and we can chat. Those all go back to me, like it is me. I do write the things. So I would love to continue to motivate you outside of this podcast. I would love to pop into your inbox occasionally. No worries. I'm not going to spam you. I don't eat spam. I'm not going to send spam. But there will be some LOLs and some content that you won't want to miss. So join our Boss Bitch tribe. I'm going to link up the newsletter list sign up form in the show notes, which if you haven't taken a peek at the show notes, you should probably do that. There's some good ass links in there. There's some discounts, fun shit. Go find the email newsletter link, put your name on there, and every week I'll be whispering sweet nothings to you in your inbox. And it's a great way for us to stay connected outside of the podcast. All right, I'll see you in your inbox soon.